before we get rolling with this week's episode, I do have a quick announcement to make, and that is that the company that prints the book I come out with every year, they're going away. So I use mypublisher.com. I love the print quality, I love the thick glossy paper that they use. But since they're going away, I did order in the entire rest of the edition of my 2016 book. So it's an edition of 100 books. Half of them have already sold, and so half of them are left. And I was trying to kind of stay ahead, maybe 10, 20 books at a time, so I wasn't sitting on a ton of inventory. But now I have ordered in the entire rest of the series. So if any of you guys are looking for a way to help support this content, help sort of, support my journey along the way, I do have the books available on my website. They're $99 plus shipping. I do ship international as well as domestic. But it'd be a great way to help kind of support what I'm doing here and also lighten my bookshelf a little bit, which I would definitely very much appreciate. But I hope you guys enjoy this week's episode. What is going on, everyone? So I've got two things to talk about this week. The first has to do with some observations that I had as I was putting together my day 7 video for my recent trip. And the other is a question that I asked on Twitter last week, and I think you guys had some really good responses to that, so I want to kind of further discuss that a little bit as well. But when I was putting together my day 7 video for my winter trip, so basically I moved from Death Valley to Zion. I know, big surprise. And I did expose some film that day, and in the sort of intro dialogue, I mentioned how, not every day is going to be an exciting adventure. There'll be those days when you take pictures that are mediocre, some days you take pictures that are great. But it's the sort of the low days that really make you appreciate the high days. I started thinking about the fact that I'm probably one of very few photographers out there that shares every single photo that he shoots on these trips. So by watching the film reveal videos, you'll see every frame of film that I shoot. But also during the actual video journals, you'll see the pictures I shot at the end of the day. And I think it's kind of interesting doing this because it's not just putting out the best of the best work that I have. It's putting out kind of everything. And I really appreciate your guys' feedback on the pictures. So for example, there might be a picture that I don't really have a very high opinion of, but by doing these video journals and by sharing that picture, I'll get feedback on that picture from you guys, and it might make me reconsider that photo or might make me think of it sort of in a different light. So that's why I kind of see value on my end of sharing all the pictures, because I get your guys' feedback. And along those same lines, I really do appreciate it if you give me feedback on the pictures. I mean, if I'm posting pictures in the video, you guys now know that I'm not necessarily in love with that picture. It's just something I'm putting out there because it has to do with the story of the day, whether it was taking a good picture, a bad picture, who knows? It's just the picture I shot at that day. So if I ever do post the pictures and the videos, I really would appreciate if you guys leave comments and say, why it works or why it doesn't work or anything along those lines, because I read all that and I do definitely appreciate that. But I think the other thing that's really interesting about putting all my work out there is that I think it's a lot easier to learn from a mistake than a picture that turned out really, really good. So when I do the film reveal videos, you kind of hear me be rather critical on the pictures as far as why I think it works, why I don't think it works. I think that's probably a good learning tool for maybe those of you that are kind of new to landscape photography, or maybe those of you that are more seasoned at landscape photography, just to kind of see the thought process that goes into the pictures. So I just thought that was kind of an interesting observation out there, and I definitely do appreciate your guys' feedback as far as the pictures. And the pictures that I shot on my day 7 trip to Zion, I don't really have any sort of appeal to those pictures necessarily. They turned out fine technically, but I think I just don't have any sort of emotional attachment to them. They just kind of look like pictures of things. But who knows? I mean, sometimes my viewpoint on that is kind of changed a little bit later down the line. So the other thing that I wanted to talk about today has to do with a question that I asked on Twitter, and this was last week. And the question was something along the lines of, if money was no object, how would that change your photography? I think if I had asked that question on a gear forum, people would just probably have a bulleted list of, I'd buy this, I'd buy this, I'd buy this, I'd buy this. But I don't know how many people would actually get into the greater meaning of it. It was, how would it change your photography, not how would it change the gear that you're carrying on your back. And that's something that pretty much everyone who answered the question really sort of tied into. And I think the universal thing that many of you guys said is that if money was no object, then money can buy time, meaning basically you don't have to work a day job. You can pursue photography, you can go on extended trips. And I think that is probably one of the more valuable things when it comes to photography these days. And that's why in the long term, it would be my absolute goal to be able to do this full time. It would be really difficult to do that. I have to find kind of creative ways since I'm not really wanting to do workshops. But time is huge, time is key. But there's one person, and I don't have my phone in front of me right now, I don't know the name, but one person commented that, that might not necessarily be a great thing with regard to time. Because if you have unlimited time, then that might kind of cut into your creativity. Because that's one of the things I've talked about in the past, which is limitation is one of the keys to creativity. Whereas if you're limited in one way or another, you're gonna get more creative. And so if you have unlimited time, maybe that would negatively work against you from a creative standpoint. But I think personally, if I had sort of a money is no object sort of situation, I could pursue photography all the time. I think what I personally would do is I would spend more time getting to know other locations other than the ones I already know very well. Because if I'm planning, let's say, a week-long trip somewhere, I know that if I go to an area like Death Valley, or if I go to an area like Zion, I'm gonna be productive there because I already know the lay of the land. I already kind of know what works and what doesn't work based on my past experiences. It allows me to be more productive in those particular areas just from that particular reason that I already have a pretty good knowledge of the area. But if money was no object, I would definitely travel more. I'd go to new locations and I would basically kind of get to know some of these other locations really well, which I think would be very beneficial from my photography standpoint. But I want to thank everyone for watching, and we'll see you around next week.